with us is Republican Congressman Greg Murphy, who represents a swath of coastal North Carolina. Congressman, thanks for being here. Okay, basically, the Speaker says Tuesday, the vote's coming, and it's everything but DHS. Your counterparts in the Senate, conservatives in the Senate, MAGA senators, were not happy about having to make the vote. Eric Schmidt, I can't say everything that Eric Schmidt said about having to vote for this. In public, Freedom Caucus sent a letter, a very upset letter about this, about the concessions that have been made here and promising to give no ground. Am I right to say this is a lot of noise, but this is going through on Tuesday?
Well, I think that's what politics is, sadly enough, Chris. You and I know that. It is a lot of noise. I hope it goes through Tuesday. The Speaker, we were on a call the other day and had hoped that we could pass this as a suspension. Hakeem Jeffries said, no, the Democrats are not going to play ball, not going to do this, and so it's probably going to have to now go through a rule. The real question is who's going to try to extract what, who's going to try to get this concession and that concession. We need to fund the government. And then, truth be told, we need to address the concerns of the American people with what's going on, just with what's going on with ICE. And so I think that's a fair assessment. I hope we get to fund the government. It was ridiculous that we would not fund the government. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, you've got to feel for Tom Cole and these appropriators. They were so close. They almost finally had it all.
Yeah.
And they lost this. So you allude to what the American people are saying about enforcement for districts like yours. You could probably, you're a R+10. It's a very Republican kind of district.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see. We'll see.
But yes, that's right. Always run like you're running behind. For people like Mike Lawler, your counterpart from the Hudson Valley in New York, this is not a subjective question. He wrote a piece for the New York Times, wrote an op-ed, where basically he gave voice to the concerns that a lot of moderate Republicans have, which is something's got to give. Are you open to the idea of codifying limits on immigration enforcement in a funding deal?
Well, I think let's pull back and look at the entire issue. We wouldn't be dealing with this issue if we didn't have 13 or 20 million people come across the border. And I think it bears to remind people that Obama deported 3 million people. 56 people died in ICE custody under Obama. There weren't protests. There weren't all these things. And as Ronald Reagan said, you know, when the Republicans get in power, sometimes the Democrats lose their mind. This is what's happened in mainstream media, and shame on them, truly shame on them for really stoking the stoking the flames of this violence. Look, you know, we have human people dealing in human circumstances, and sadly and tragically enough, 2 people have lost their lives. They put themselves in situations probably that led to some of the human error. But let's actually pull back. Let's actually deal. We need to enforce our laws, but we also need to do it in a way that is respectful of the laws themselves.
So Democrats talk about things like not letting ICE agents wear masks. They talk about changing the way that warrants, and I know you don't want to negotiate here, but like what kind of stuff would you be open to in terms of what a legislative cure would be?
Sure, you know, they said about body cams. I think body cams, light is the greatest disinfectant, and usually body cams actually give the people who are enforcing the laws, they usually adjudicate them. Why are the guys wearing masks? Let's step back and ask why. Because these people were having their families attacked. So they're not doing it just to be, you know, criminals or whatever and hide behind a mask. They're doing it because their families were attacked. So let's put that again back in perspective. But then let's also have the other side say that, okay, we're going to back down from attacking, blowing Blair horns, doing all these things from the ICE agents who are just trying to get criminals out of our country.
So there's separation of powers, competition of powers thing going on here too. And you hear from some Republicans and certainly some in the administration that say what Tom Homan is saying and others like, we're happy to constrain ourselves, but we don't want our hands tied by Congress. But isn't that sort of Congress's job?
Well, yes and no. I mean, this is where the administration does its job. Again, if you look back at other administrations, ICE was able to do its job where we didn't have these people protesting, a lot of which are paid protesters, paid agitators doing this. Congress does enact the laws, but it is up to the administration to administer the laws. And then we have our law enforcement individuals. You know, remember back in the defund the police movement where basically people didn't want laws whatsoever. And now they're saying, no, we can have the laws, but we don't want you to enforce them.
Is there a concern, and I remember during the Tea Party protests of 2010, that I heard that paid protesters thing from the left about the right. And I think it prevented Democrats from making necessary adjustments to what they were doing with Obamacare and a host of other things that were unpopular at the time. Because it let them say, like, well, that's fake. That's the Koch brothers. Is there a danger for Republicans this time? And I hear you say, yeah, these are legitimate concerns and people are talking about legitimate things. For other Republicans, when they dismiss this as paid protesters and they say this is fake, does that perhaps block their ears from hearing?
No, I don't think necessarily. I think that is a part of it. And I think a part of it is just Democratic outrage. I think part of it is, hey, look, there were two tragedies that happened. Two tragedies that happened. One was an officer who had been dragged by a protester previously, felt his life was in danger, and the other one, we had a gun go off and people reacted to that. These are tragedies that occurred in the midst of their jobs. Again, I think it's important, and this is one thing in politics I don't think we do enough, is to pull back and look at perspective, look at the entire situation, and actually make decisions based upon what's going on entirely, not just narrow views.
Okay, some Democrats are going to say we don't need to worry about it because ICE already got additional funding from the big beautiful bill. They're flush, and we don't need to make a deal because they have enough money, and we can just sit on our hands and let the shutdown just hit DHS. What do you say to that?
I think that's a dereliction of duty. I mean, you're here, we're supposed to administer the government. We're supposed to be here for the people of the United States. And another sit-out, another ridiculous long-term shutdown of the government is not what's good for the American people, especially in the middle of this horrible winter storm. So actually show up, do your job. I think it's time to put down some of the swords and some of the banter and actually do what's right for the American people.
And by the way, you actually got out of your district before everything, before the Snowmageddon came to where Washington, it's still frosty Washington. It's comfortable by comparison. How's your district doing? This has been a...
Oh, look, I was chatting with my wife this morning. They're under 10 inches of snow.
She mad at you because you're up here?
No, actually, she's glad I came up yesterday because it wasn't that bad. I have a truck and, four-wheel drive, and so fortunately, I survived. And so I've paid off my life insurance policies and everything. So, no, she's happy about that. But no, some of the folks are, they're suffering back home, but fortunately, everybody's hunkered down, and hopefully everybody is in a place that is warm and safe.
Yeah, don't try to buy bread anywhere in North Carolina.
Well, you won't be able to find it.
There won't be any at the Piggly Wiggly. All right, America, if you were pressing your luck in Last Chance, North Carolina, you would know him already, but if you don't, here he is, Congressman Greg Murphy. We thank you.